I have this idea that we are born to move. Our first moment is a journey out of a womb into the world, and our last one is out of the world into a grave and into whatever happens afterwards. And in between, those of us who stay sitting in the same place all the time become miserable, have all sorts of psychological problems and physical problems. And the people who move more every day, 10,000 steps or whatever we're supposed to take, have a happier, healthier life. So literally, physically, we are made to move. That's why we have legs. That's what we're born to do. My name's Anthony Sattin. I'm a writer from London. I travel the world. I spend 6 months every year on the move. I have done for most of my adult life. I collect stories. About 9,500 BC, so 11,500 years ago, a group of hunter-gatherers, and almost everybody up until this point, lived on the move. So there was lots and lots of small communities moving around, but not really connected to each other. And then somehow, and we don't know how, a group of people came together at this place, Göbekli Tepe, for a sacred reason. It's a sacred site. We don't know exactly why. Maybe there was a volcano exploded that they saw. Maybe there was a star, sign in the stars in the night sky. But they began cutting stone, and they cut T-shaped pillars about 10 or 12 feet high, and they put 12 of them in a circle, sort of huge circle. And in the middle of the circle, there are 2 big pillars, slightly higher, also T-shaped. These limestone cut. This is 7,000 years before the pyramids or before Stonehenge. We have no idea who these people were, or where they came from, or where they learnt to do this. And they didn't just build one circle on this hillside, they built lots. And some of them they buried, and some they kept open. And they've since, that was discovered in 1995. But since then, in the last couple of years, they found other sites not far away, also cut. And these are stones, heavy, that they've cut and carried and put into place. So this takes more than 20 people. And therefore, in order to do that, my understanding, my suggestion is that they must have started collecting food and bringing it to this place. And the first strain of domesticated wheat, cultivated wheat, was found very, very close by. And so it is possible that this is the beginning of cultivation, of the agricultural revolution, or the Neolithic revolution, as it's called, and therefore the beginning of settlement. It's a revolution, or more of an evolution, because it takes thousands of years, but it transforms the human experience. We now have more than half of the world's population lives in urban environments, and it's predicted by the United Nations that by 2050, 75% of all people will live in urban environments, and this is most people living in small apartments. The break with our earlier self is enormous and irreparable in some ways, but there is still some part of us that longs to move. Some of us find it very difficult to live within 4 walls, or the same 4 walls all the time. And also our most important, even more important than the movement, is our connection to the natural world. And that break has been catastrophic for the planet, but that's not irreparable. Jump forward 50 years, and our cities are going to be so enormous that either there will be massive state control to keep that many people. If you look, for instance, at how China has managed its population during COVID, there'll be all of that control and more. Technology will become more sophisticated. Everyone will know exactly where we are every minute of the day. Well, they do already. So yes, the other side of it, people who are living outside settlements will firstly have most of the planet to play on, to move it, to roam around, And I think they will be the happy ones moving forwards. I mean, and I'm not, you know, I have been accused of sort of being of damning the city. I mean, I think, you know, the city has been one of humanity's greatest achievements, to bring people together, and the things that have come out of cities have been, you know, extraordinary. Arts and sciences and wonderful, wonderful things. But, you know, clearly it's out of control, and the population is out of control, and everything needs to be reimagined. That we should bear in mind that we didn't always live like this, and that not all of us do live like this, and wonder about the great survivors. We laud, we compliment the ancient Egyptians for their great civilization, the Romans, Indus Valley, you know, all around the world. But actually, the real survivors on the planet, hunter-gatherers. They're doing exactly the same as they did 10, 12,000 years ago. They're still here, they're still doing it. Only about a third of what the UN calls agricultural land on the planet is actually farmable. You can't grow crops on most of it. So 2/3 of what the United Nations calls agricultural land is only good for herding, for nomads. And, you know, so obviously these people will thrive increasingly so. And, you know, there isn't an advance that can be made in sort of crop management that is going to make it possible to grow crops in the middle of for instance, of the Iranian plateau, which is desert, or, you know, it just can't be done. There isn't enough water in the world, for a start, to do that sort of thing. So, you know, so we will increasingly need nomads to produce food for us. What we can learn from pastoralists, from people who have herds of animals, whether it's camels or sheep or goat or whatever, horses or whatever it is that, you know, they're aware of their relationship with everything else that grows and breathes on the planet, and they're aware that it's not in their interest to upset it, and they now know that it has been upset, and they're all struggling because of it. One thing I can say about nomads is that they're extremely resilient, and what I mentioned about nomadic thinking, diverse thinking, they're extremely flexible, and I think it's a lot easier for nomads to try and circumvent the problems that they face because of climate change than we in the city. It's difficult. It's going to be difficult for everyone, but I'm confident that nomads will continue to survive. There's an Oxford historian who described history as a path picked through ruins, which is very neat. You know, you've got the pyramids, and you've got beautiful temples, and, you know, and down to the wonderful buildings of our own time. And the only role for nomads in that is because they don't build, is as the destroyer of buildings. So in history, that is effectively how nomads are presented. But I think the time will come, and not very far away, where we won't, sticking with this metaphor of a path, what we'll be looking at is not the monuments that were built along it, but the growth, the trees, the things that grow around it, and the people who have maintained them. For instance, maintained forests for the last 12,000 years. I mean, those people, their story is going to be extraordinary and inspirational, how they maintained it.